So,
Okay.
I'm Robert Kikuchi and Gold. That's Nancy Wong. We are Eth-Noh-Tec. We are a kinetic storytelling theater company based in San Francisco. We've been doing movement theater storytelling of Pan-Asian and Asian American stories, including myths and folk tales from Asia, as well as from the Asian American experience,
There we
contemporary
go.
stories, and historic pieces as well. So, Ethnotech has been doing this kind of work in libraries and schools, festivals, universities, community theaters, all around the place, the country. We've been touring for almost 40 years coming up, as well as some international projects. And so, doing storytelling, celebrating the art of the narrative. And I know today's program you'll really enjoy that. Nancy's just kind of twittering away there, so just ignore her. But for me, I'll tell you what she's going to say. She's going to introduce us.
Well, we're going to say that in the East, there is no man in the moon, nor there is there blue cheese or the cow that jumped over the moon. There is instead a lady, a goddess. And during the moon or mid-autumnal or even harvest festival, which is all the same, there are certain stories told about the lady in the moon. So,
Lots of stories. I heard one story where, this man was actually two neighbors were side by side. This is a story from China as well as Korea as well. And of course, the good neighbor, when he helps save a bird, the bird delivers a pumpkin seed which grows rapidly overnight. And as the pumpkin blooms open, of course, because of the kindness of the old man, he's delivered with gifts of gold and silver and jade and all kinds of cool things. The greedy neighbor next door, he tries to copy and imitate goodness, but his heart's not in the right place. So when he breaks that bird's leg and heals it back, the bird delivers a seed all right, which grows overnight, certainly. But when it cracks open, there's all kinds of bugs and worms and stuff. Well, he's getting so angry, he picks up an axe, starts cutting away. But as he's cutting away, he's being drawn up on that vine, and the vine grows all the way up to the moon. And he's so happy because on the moon he finds a silver tree. Oh, I'm going to be rich. So he starts cutting at the silver tree on the moon. Of course, each time an axe dents the silver in the moon, the wound heals up again. But he's so greedy, he doesn't stop. So he's a madman, cutting away all the rest of eternity with that axe, trying to cut down the silver tree on the moon. So that's one of the stories. Got one too?
yes, well, this one is about Chang'e, who is the goddess of the moon. And she was married to Hu-Yi.
Where does this take place?
In China, who is he was the archer who was a hero to the people because in the beginning there were 10 sons, not just one. And it was beginning to fry the people. And, the land was drying up, all that stuff. So he went and with his bow and arrow, he killed off 9 of the sons. And to reward him, the Queen of the West gave him an elixir of immortality. But he loved his wife, Chang'e, and so would not take it and told her to hide it. And when he told her to hide it, it was clear to both of them that they wanted to be with each other forever. So she hid it. But one day, when Hu-Yi was off on a hunt, one of his apprentices had overheard about the elixir. And so what he did was he broke into the house and he demanded that Chang'e show him the elixir. He was a very greedy, angry person. But because she did not want him to become immortal, this horrible person, just think about what would happen to the earth, she instead gulped it down. And as soon as she did, she began to float up into the air so high that she landed on the moon. And there she is, alone on the moon. So some people say. At least that's how I heard the story. How did you hear it?
Well, I heard that another version that Hu-Yi started out as a warrior. He was a hero. And as he made his way up through the ranks, general and high general, and then eventually, through his militant prowess, he actually became an emperor himself. And this emperor wanted to live forever. And so he sent his emissaries all in the four directions, all over, looking to find herbalists and shamans and healers and try to steal their formulas for good health and longevity. Of course, in his imperial rule, his armies that conquered, of course, they devastated the countryside, they killed lots of people, and they stole formulas, all to find this magic elixir. And his wife, Chang'e, she saw the slaughter that took place and the pillage that took place, and she kept begging him not to do these evil deeds. Of course, he wanted immortality because he wanted to live forever. And so she prayed and prayed for his salvation. And one evening, when she was in her lovely garden, she was visited by Guan Yin, the goddess of compassion, who said he probably will stop his search and his pillage and his destruction if he's given the elixir. So I happen to have this elixir because I have I can have this made up on the moon. There's a friend up there. He's a rabbit that makes the elixir of immortality, and I happen to have a vial. So give this to you. You and the husband can have this, and perhaps that will stop his plunder. Well, she was so thankful. She went back into the palace, and as soon as she mentioned this magic elixir, he was about to grab it, and he shouted, "I want to live forever!" But he didn't mention the Queen Chang'e's name, and she realized how selfish he was, and how evil he was, and how even if he could live forever, it would still not satiate his greed. So she, and the other story, gulped that elixir down, and she realized that she was doomed anyway. So she leaped off of the palace window, and instead of dying, she became lighter and lighter and floated up into the sky. Well, since Hou Yi was a general and he had plenty of archers, he started having arrows shooting at her, and each of the arrows missed. But as she floated up higher and higher, she began to change. Her body began to change, smaller and smaller, and instead of a human, she turned into a three-legged frog, and ended up on the moon, where she met her friend, a new friend, the rabbit. And together, Chang'e and the rabbit on the moon are a symbol of immortality and kindness to shine down upon the dark and troubled, often greedy world.
Yes, so either way, Chang'e was a hero and saved the earth from an immortal who might not be very kind at all. So we are glad that even if there are unkind people, they are mortal. They too will leave us.
Yes.
So during the Moon Festival, which is what we're celebrating, which is actually going to be October 1st when the moon is full, all over Asia there are celebrations. And during that time, they do tell those stories, but there's another story that is told during the Moon Festival, and Robert will tell that story now.
I shall indeed. And this is a Pan-Asian tale found throughout many parts of, particularly Northern Asia, where Buddhism has spread. And though it originates possibly in India, as any good story, the word spread. So now I present to you Rabbit in the Moon. The Rabbit on the Moon. A folk tale originated out of India that was so powerful with its message of compassion that it spread to many parts in the Pan-Asian world. Rabbit on the Moon. One day, Chang'e, the king of gods, looked down through the clouds and pondered, such a dark and selfish world below. Could any being exist that is free from greed and self-interest, one that truly lives from his heart? Well, I shall disguise myself and walk among the world to seek out such a being. Perhaps someone like that could offer light and wisdom to this darkened world. And so, Chang'e, the king of gods, this radiant being, descended down to earth and then waved his hands and instantly appeared as a mortal man. In fact, a hungry and dying old mortal man, wandering aimlessly through the woods. Finding his way in a clearing, he sat under a great tree. The old man made a small fire to warm himself and then waited. Now it wasn't long before 3 friends came along that path, 3 forest creatures, a fox, a monkey, and a rabbit. The old man feigned a sorrowful look. "Please, dear creatures, I am famished. I need some food. I know I've made a fire, but I'm too weak to hunt or gather food for myself. Please." Now at first, the three creatures, who had been hunted and harangued and harassed all their lives by humans, were fearful and cautiously stepped back. But the old man begged, "Please." "This old man cannot harm us. See how weak he is," said the fox. "Indeed, he's so weak he can barely lift his hand to harm us." "More than weak," spoke the rabbit. "He is dying. We must help him find food." Well, the two other creatures chorused in with Rabbit, and without another word, the animals set out in different directions with their best intentions, bound away to find the old man a meal. And the old man, once again alone, now smiled through his false wrinkles. Perhaps there is a light of compassion in this world after all. Then the deity changed back to his radiant being and sat in meditation and began to glow. By now, Rabbit, deep into the woods, eagerly hopping here and there, sniffing about, foraging around the ground. Everywhere he looked, he could not find anything fit for a human diet. Wheat? No. Dry twigs? No. Dry grass and bitter leaves? No. As hungry as that poor man is, none of this would even help a starving man like him. What can I offer the old man? Still the rabbit wholeheartedly continued searching all day long. Meanwhile, the fox wandered down by the riverbank where he often snatched up a fish or two, and to his luck he found a fisherman who, while tying his boat, turned his back on the day's catch, a basket full of fresh fish. The fox silently crept down and with lightning speed snapped up the basket with his jaws and scampered away into the woods. And as he made his way back through the forest, he thought, "Oh, that old man, skinny as he is, he could only devour one fish anyway, so that's what I'll give him. One fish, and I'll keep the rest for me." The fox then took a shortcut back to his own cave to hide the basket of fish, and then headed back to the campfire in the forest with only a single fish in his jaws. As for Monkey, he too went looking for the old man's next meal. He scampered up into the treetops to look, and a farmer who had just finished harvesting. His harvest of mangoes. And with a leap and a swing, the well-timed monkey snatched up that basket full of mangoes with his tail. Unbeknownst to the careless fruit farmer, Monkey was now swinging his way to his escape through the treetops towards where he last saw the old man. However, right before his return, and before Fox and Rabbit had reappeared, Monkey, he caught a glimpse of who was really sitting at the fire. The radiant being of light, Chakra. The king of gods. He's not a human at all. He's really the spirit from heaven. Perhaps if I give him an even bigger meal, I might be rewarded with a big gift. But I'll give him not just one mango, but the entire basket of fruit, and in return, I'll get maybe 10, maybe 100, maybe 1,000 times more gifts in return. And Monkey, with his basket of fruit, hid in the treetops, waiting to time his return, along with his two other friends, Rabbit and Fox. Just then, Chakra stirred from his meditation, and then quickly resumed his feeble disguise, just in time, as Rabbit's two long ears and the bushy tail of Fox bobbed and swayed through the tall grass. And right behind him, Monkey swooped down to join his other friends. The old man again feigned a weak smile. I am so grateful that all of you have put your heart into the task. What have you found for me? Well, the fox swaggered forward. Alas, old man, I am exhausted. I spent the entire day diving in the river, waiting for the fish to snatch up a savory fish, diving in time and time again. But alas, all my efforts, all I could catch is just one fish, a meager little fish. I hope you'll like it. And though I am hungry as well and quite exhausted, no, I shall give up this only fish to help you. The deceptive fox laid a single fish before the old man. All the while, the fox was drooling over the secret hidden basket of fish waiting back in his cave. The old man said not a word, but then turned to Monkey. "And you? What have you found, Monkey?" "Oh, my dear fellow, I, on the other hand, was quite fortunate. On my way, I was passing by a mango tree full of fruit. I know you like mangoes, but so I climbed up there and took one by one all the mangoes I could catch. Back and forth I went up and down that tree. I gathered as many mangoes as I could. I have so many now. But it's a bountiful harvest. But here they are, the entire batch. No need to spare a single mango for me. No. They're all for you. No need to thank me. No. No need to reward me. No. Unless you want to." And as he spoke, he secretly hoped that the spirit would reward him with riches beyond his imagination. The old man rubbed his chin in silence, and then turned towards Rabbit. But before he could even ask the same question, the rabbit admitted fully his failure. "Alas, in my search there were plenty of twigs and leaves, but nothing worthy enough for you to eat. And so I've decided there's only one thing I could offer you." "And what might that be?" asked the old spirit man. "Myself," replied the rabbit. "I shall offer all that I am for you." And without a moment's hesitation, the rabbit leaped into the roaring flames of the campfire, offering his own flesh as a meal to save a dying old man. Suddenly, the old man transformed back into the radiant chakra and waved his hands and calmed those searing flames of heat, turning them into cool, soft, flickering blue light. The king of gods then reached gently into the shimmering coolness and pulled the rabbit out safely from the campfire. "That won't be necessary, dear rabbit." Chakra, the all-knowing god, then turned towards the fox and the monkey. "You, fox, you offered me your single fish, but all the while I could see you were hiding a basket full of fish back in your cave. You were giving only from a heart of selfishness. These actions would never alleviate the suffering in the world, but only cause more hunger, more suffering in the world. And you, monkey? No, you were giving from your heart of self-servitude. Did so hoping that you would be greatly rewarded. Well, both your actions, they're not gifts from the heart. For both your heartless and empty gestures, you will deserve a reward of equal sincerity. Nothing." And then Chakra turned to the rabbit. "But you, rabbit, your willingness to give beyond yourself, to give of yourself with compassion, selflessness, and the intention to save another's life, for this you shall have eternal life." And with another wave of his hand, both Chakra and the rabbit ascended up into the sky, far above the shamed monkey and fox, far above them as they sat in their guilt far below. Into the clouds, Chakra and the rabbit soared swiftly into the heavens. And the king of gods rewarded Rabbit with a heavenly residence upon the moon, for all to see, illuminating even the darkest of our nights. And so at night, when you look up at the face of the moon, a full, bright, and shining moon, you'll see those gray spots and shadows that make out a shape you might see, the shape of a rabbit on the moon. Yes. And throughout all eternity, there is no single star, there is no myriad of stars in any constellations that can ever outshine the rabbit's compassionate message. Give from the heart. A message for the world. Give from the heart. The rabbit on the moon.
And that's why Chang'e is not lonely on the moon. She has Rabbit.
Yes. So during this time when people look up at the full moon during the Mid-Autumn Festival, they look at that illumination and see that that in amidst the darkness of the night sky, that there is hope, that there is a reminder of these stories that will bring us to a place of peace, and really think about how we can be more compassionate and serving to those people in our lives and beyond.
So, the moon being round, the Chinese see it as unity, that it represents unity and the union of families. And so, in China and in India and Vietnam and Laos, all these other Vietnam, Asian countries, it's a time for families to come together. And they celebrate in very different ways depending on their culture. For some, it is they set out a bowl like this, and they fill it with water, and then they find the reflection of the moon for the bowl of water. And then they set their table up so that it continues to show the moon. And on the table, they will have incense, and they will have all kinds of fruit, anything round that is like the moon. So it'll be pomelos and apples and oranges and things like that. But definitely they also have what's called a moon cake.
Ooh.
And by the way, this moon cake is years old. We got it in China many years ago. So they're pretty solid and pretty forever.
They're eternal. The longevity issue comes in.
But people do eat them. They don't usually buy them for themselves. They buy them as gifts for others and as on the table to worship the goddess of the moon.
But they're very solid. So it has this pastry outside, and then inside a solid paste of sweet bean, sometimes lima bean, sometimes other inserts as well.
Yeah, you'll
very
see.
dense.
We're going to show you slides of all the ways they make them. But before we do that, I'd like to just quickly say that the Moon Festival started, or the worship of the moon started about 3,000 years ago, only by the emperor. And then after about 1,000 years, the upper class decided that they would do it too. And another 100 years later, then everyone was doing the moon worship. And all the cultures do it differently. They have lion dances, they have music, they have the gazing of the moon. There's one culture that the young people go and find in their stream or in the river where the moon is being reflected. And as the moon moves, they also had to move. And if it goes outside of the river, they have to find another stream to find the reflection of the moon.
Yeah.
There's one minority group in China called the Tu. And what they do is they get a basin of water and they capture the reflection of the moon, and then they start beating it. I don't know why, but they just start beating the moon in the water.
Maybe it's a way to remind us that it's illusion.
It's an illusion.
That it's not the truth light. The true light is in the heavens.
Yes.
Speaking of which, too, another story that I thought of just now, too, took place during the Yuan dynasty in China. This was when the Mongol rule of China took over, and for many years, ruled, but there was some disgruntlement, particularly in the southern region of China. They didn't appreciate the Mongols ruling what was their empire. So, but how to get the word out to revolt? And so one very clever man, Liu Bawen, decided the best way to send the message out, because you couldn't have a community gathering and talk about revolution. You couldn't send messengers with messenger birds or on horseback with a messenger. So instead, since it was the Autumn Moon Festival, they took those mooncakes and stuffed the message in there of time, date, and place and what to do. And of course, everyone gives the mooncakes out to the population, and they knew that was the time, that was the signal to rise up against the oppressor.
So we happened to be in Asia several times in different countries during the Moon Festival. And Robert's going to just show you some really quick slides because I know we're starting to run out of time. And we have one more story for you.
Okay. So let's do a little check-in because I'm combining a microphone with the slideshow. So let's try this. You can see this Mid-Autumn Festival, Moon Festival signage. Just type it and say, yeah, got it, so I know that it's working. and that the slideshow is there. Do you folks see anything going up there? There we go. Okay, we see it on our screen. So the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival. And here goes. So there's the Lady and the Moon, and many different derivations of her visage rising up towards the moon. The Lady of the Moon has taken many different forms among many different artists. In fact, anime and modern cartoonists and animators are working with the motif of the moon.
Even Disney now
Yeah.
has one coming out October 23rd about Chang'e, and we'll see if Disney has been able to honor our culture or not.
Have they done their homework? Okay. So, also, so inspired by this visage of the moon, that China also has a space program, a space landing program named after Chang'e. And I think they have Chang'e 5. That's how many there are.
Here's the rabbit.
The rabbit and the moon. Oops, I'm getting the hush sign here. Now, of course, you can see the dark spots, and if you look carefully, you see how it's outlined shaping that rabbit and the moon. Okay. Let's see. I need to go. I do want to show you about this trip to China because it took place several times. We went to China many times, and one of them being in the fall season. This is one where some of our national storytellers went, many folks that you might know if you know the storytellers. And by going to China, this village called Gansun, we got to hear lots of stories and did story swaps with community, listened to many stories. And of course, when we spoke with people, they gifted us, well, of course, the ubiquitous mooncake.
Those plates are filled with mooncakes.
And those are just the ones they gave us on the plates. They also gave us boxes of mooncakes, which traveled quite well.
Heavy, though, very heavy.
Yes. So here it is, Yue Bing, the mooncake, classic shape. And of course, get up close there, you can see there's the bread and the decor.
Those are probably more Shanghainese. They're flaky. And this is more the northern
Style.
mooncake.
Okay, and this bean inside here. And of course, here are some of the derivations of the famous mooncake. Everything from roasted pork to the sweet red bean, classic one, sometimes with a yellow egg, also that symbol of roundness, symbolizing the moon.
And ice cream. Look at that, ice cream.
Oh, ice cream.
That's the modern day one.
Eat that one fast. Green tea, of course. And there's some more symbols on that mooncake right there.
Yes.
Also, while we were there in 2010, we did lots of side trips as well, going to Datong, famous for its Buddhist carvings. But of course, it was right during the Mid-Autumn Festival, so not only we see the beautiful city all decked out in lights, but also their decor. And here she is, Chang'e, rising up to the moon, surrounded by all the decor, palaces, and pyramid shapes of fruit. And right there, you'll see a very large Yue Bing. That's a very large mooncake. You can imagine how long that would take to eat. And of course, round apples. There is a
Dragon fruit.
You'll see one coming up. There's a melon.
Rambutan.
A melon there, and the calligraphy says Yue. That's the Chinese word for moon. Then moving along the streets. Of course, when the public comes out to view at the moon, at least in this one town, plenty of street performance, music, dance, Chinese opera.
Even in Korea, they have a wonderful thing that they do during all their seasons, all their holidays. They put out in South Korea stages in public places throughout the cities, and on each stage are amazing performances. Music, dance, theater, comedy, and for everyone to see. So when we were in Korea, we also got to see their celebration of the Moon Festival.
And of course, being hosted by two storytellers, Xiang Kim and Alicia Dangbo, who introduced us to a festival that Alicia put on, as well as Sing and her connection with the storytellers from Andong region in the Sachon village, doing a cultural exchange through the art of storytelling, meeting community, sharing stories and history.
With grandmas.
In Korea, the Moon Festival is called Chuseok. And of course, with this celebration, there are traditional games. The ladies in pink and yellow are doing a traditional seesaw jumping game. They go as high as they can. And on the side, of course, you'd celebrate with these decor. These are various colorful, soft rice cakes, kind of like mochi or manju in Japanese tradition. We visited a beautiful palace. This is one of the side palaces of the dynasties there, the royalty. And of course, as the sun began to set during Moon Festival, we got to see the Woji Pond rising up over the moon rising over the water. Oops, let me get this one here. And of course, there are garden strolls and parks around the pond, and the moon shining down from above. Traditional dances were in many of the street performances, and music as well. Of course, we were talking about the Moon Festival being celebrated in many countries in Asia. Tet Trung Tu in Vietnam, Chuseok, Korea, and Tsukimi in Japan, the celebration of the moon. And, of course, happy Mid-Autumn Festival to all you guys and gals out there.
Yeah. So we have one more story for you, and this is a monkey story that is for these times. These times, meaning, well, voting's coming up, etc.
We're choosing leaders, and one leader in particular is a very important one.
President of the United States. Okay, so stay with us. It's a short but very powerful story.
From Tibet.
And fun.
Here we go. The Monkey Moon.
Monkey Moon.
Ngamo, 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 ngamo. Once upon a time in the land of Tibet, one night, a golden full moon shone upon a beautiful forest with a beautiful pond.
Oh, the pond was so smooth, so crystal clear, that the water's surface was like a big, bright mirror.
And beside this shining pool stood a towering tree, and that was the home of a band of
Monkeys, chit-chat-chittery, chee-chee. Now, high in the tree, to the pond below, the monkeys looked and saw, something aglow.
Look down there, a golden moon.
I
I wanted the monkeys' croon. The moon, they screeched with glee.
When suddenly a voice said,
That's not for you. It's meant for me.
Who? It was their chief, their almighty king, who ruled over these monkeys and everything.
That golden moon is mine alone, and I command this from my monkey throne. I want it now, not later, not soon. Go get it now. Go fetch that moon.
So the monkeys lined up in numerical fashion. They saluted their chief,
with patriotic passion.
We'll fetch the moon for you, dear chief. If that's what you want, we'll be your thieves.
So one at a time down a long, thin branch, each single monkey took a chance.
Oh, but each monkey stretched to fetch that disc. Oh, but each monkey failed, though it put its own life at risk.
For the tree was too tall and the pond far below. An impossible task for any monkey, you know. But the king was angry. He jumped up and railed. That's not how you do it. Grab hand to tail.
Hand to tail, chee-chee-chee-chee. They hailed their chief,
Hand to tail it shall be. So the first one climbed up on the limb. Second one followed after him. Third and the fourth were right behind. So on and so forth down the line.
Hand to tail, chee-chee-chee-chee. Hand to tail shall be. And when not a single monkey remained, the monkeys exclaimed, look, we've made a monkey chain.
Now the monkey at the bottom of that monkey chain, all her might she stretched and strained, reaching for the moon in a shining pool. Of course she couldn't get it. The king cried, you fool! All of you are fools. You have failed all night. Do I have to do it myself to get it done right?
So down the chain he climbed as each monkey chattered and chimed. Hand to tail, chee-chee-chee-chee. The chief is coming. Hand to tail it shall be.
Oh, the moon in the pond was so golden bright. The king's eyes glowed with greedy delight. With the moon in my hands, I'll be the emperor of the night.
So that big chap of a chief did reach. He stretched and strained a magnificent feat. All the monkeys cheered their big chief on as he
bobbed up and down
towards that moon in the pond. When
from the top of the tree, they heard the tiniest of sounds. Snap! The monkey looked up. Oh! The branch went
Crash! Down, 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 monkeys tumbling into the pool. These loyal little monkeys and their majesty the fool.
Splash went the king in his royal chain of command as 1,000 little moons rippled through their dripping hands.
Now,
The chief uttered not a word
as his loyal monkeys howled, and a mocking golden moon slipped behind a silver cloud. Now,
it's more than all right to reach for the moon or to climb out on a limb.
but to follow a foolish leader is to follow to a foolish end. Chitty, chitty, the end. Oh.
So, we all know what to do November 3rd and before.
Yeah.
Get those ballots sent in.
Follow the right leader by choosing one that's the right one.
So, thank you so much for joining us. We're one of these days we'll get it all right, and there won't be people waiting and not knowing how to get on. We'll figure it out. We keep trying. But in the meantime, we do accept donations. You can go to our webpage, ethnotech.org, and there's a PayPal. There's also Venmo at Nancy Ann Wong. That's my Southern New Orleans name, Nancy Ann Wong. It's a W-A-N-G.
Right. And of course, many more stories will be happening next month.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you can see she's wearing orange. Orange in October, you know what that means, right? Halloween. So we're going to be selecting from our repertoire some of our favorite spooky, ghoulish, demonic stories from the Pan-Asian world. Heart-wrenching, heart-ripping, eviscerating, bloody, ghoulish stories.
And funny, because he can't help it.
I can't help it.
So please join us. We're always on the last Thursday of the month, so that will be October 29th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And thank you again. Please have a wonderful full moon on October 1st.
Acknowledgements, too.
Yes.
For example,
right.
the Orcas Center has hosted us today here on Orcas
Because those
Island.
big storms on Orcas.
Last few times we were out in a lovely picnic table in the backyard of Mind Place with Robert Austin and Angie Ringson, who hosted us, and we were so grateful for their fiber optics. But we didn't know what the sky was going to do, so we thought we'd shelter in another place.
Right. So thank you to all of you. Have a wonderful rest of the evening.
All right. Happy advanced Mid-Autumn Festival to you.
Yes, October 1st, full moon.
Full moon. All right. Bye-bye.